My name is Randi Klemish, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my memories of my grandparents. First of all, I was born in Brooklyn, but I was raised on Long Island in Oceanside. I'm the daughter of a dentist and a housewife. And we were raised in a Jewish home, but it wasn't religious, it was just Jewish. My grandparents, my mother's parents, were Orthodox Jews, and they kept their house kosher. So I could never touch the cups and the plates because I would get things mixed up. Anyway, we used to go to Brooklyn quite a bit, driving in from Long Island to Brooklyn, Brighton Beach. We often saw people walking along the parkways from time to time. And if I saw an old man, I was a little girl, I'd ask my father, "Who's that old man?" And he would say sarcastically, "That's Charlie. That would be your grandfather." But it turns out he was being sarcastic because Charlie left my father and his family when my dad was 18. So it was kind of a joke. Whenever I saw an old man walking, I'd say, "Daddy, who's that?" "That's Charlie. That would have been your grandfather." Okay, so maybe that's why my mother's parents were so important to me. My mother's parents, Ethel and Harry Fish, they spelled it F-I-S-C-H. They came from Austria. My grandmother, Ethel, came here as a young girl. I think she was 16 or 17 on her brother's visa, because at the last minute he decided not to come at all. So she disguised herself with a cap and put her hair up, and she came here, and she got here as a teenage girl. My grandfather came separately. He wasn't even maybe 19, 20, and they found one another. They married, and they made their home in Brighton Beach. I have so many wonderful memories of my grandparents. The best memory is when we get to Brooklyn, I would stand outside. It was a two-story house. It was brick, and it was row houses, very, very pretty. And my grandparents lived upstairs. So I would stand outside, and there was a brick patio, waiting for my grandfather to come home from work on Friday afternoon so we could have Sabbath dinner. That was a big deal. My grandmother cooked and cleaned all week long, so Sabbath was a big deal in their family. And I loved it. I was a little girl, 7, 8 years old. And I just remember waiting for my grandfather, getting so excited. I could see him in the distance, and as he got closer to me, I was so happy to see him. I think he was excited too by the time he got there, because he picked me up and hugged me and kissed me and hold my hand, and we'd go back into the house. And the house, oh my God, it smelled so wonderful, because she was cooking chicken soup, matzo ball soup. There was a chicken in the oven, and it just smelled heavenly. And I remember just watching my grandmother stand. There was one big room. The far side was the kitchen, and the rear was the dining room. And I can recall her standing there wearing a long apron that she would have made because she was a seamstress, and standing there fully erect, just holding court with everything that she was doing, the bubbling pots, stirring the soup. It was wonderful, checking the oven, and I was just watching it, taking it all in. And the smells were fabulous. And then behind the kitchen was the dining room, and I remember she would put a beautiful white cloth on the dining room table, and she'd put 6 place sets out and 5 glasses of wine. And one was for Elijah, in case he showed up. And I was sure he showed up every Friday night because there was never wine in the morning, so I figured he showed up. We would sleep over. I'd have the second bedroom to myself. And I remember waking up in the morning, soft, saggy mattress that I thought was heaven, and a creaky bed I thought was adorable. I just loved it. And I'd sneak downstairs by the back steps and go to the landlord's garden, which I wasn't allowed to do. And the reason I wasn't encouraged to do that was because my grandmother always complained that in the winter the landlord never gave them enough heat, and they were always arguing back and forth, so that was not territory for me to go down to, but I liked to do it anyway. So I did. Saturday mornings, I would go to shul, which is temple, with my grandfather, because they were very Orthodox. My family was not. But I remember holding my grandfather's hand and going to this old building where women would sit separately from the men. But because I was a little girl, I got to sit with my grandfather, and that was great. My grandparents used to come and visit us too, out in Oceanside. And the thing that I remember the most, they'd take the train, and my grandmother always had a big box, a bakery box, with twine, or, you know what I'm talking about? And it was from Ebbinger's. And inside was a chocolate blackout cake. Blackout, because inside was like chocolate pudding. And every time she came, it was the same cake. And I just couldn't wait to get home and get a glass of cold milk to have with it. It was fabulous. My grandfather, when he did come out, he was probably bored. He would sit at our kitchen table, which was gray from mica, and while the women talked, he would say, "Bring me all your chains and your necklaces," and he would take the knots out of them. Just something to do, right? My grandmother would sew a dress for me. I would design it in my head, describe it to my grandmother. I want sleeves this big, and I want it to be up here and about up here. And without a pattern, she'd make it for me. And then she'd make one for my doll too, exactly matching my dress. It was great. The most I remember of my grandparents was a lot of love, a lot of food, a lot of cooking, a lot of stirring soups and pots. And now I'm a grandmother too. And as I'm getting older, we decided recently to move back from Florida to New York to be closer to my children, my 2 grandsons. And my desire is for them to come to my house, now upstate, and to watch me in the kitchen with an apron that I did not make, and stirring the soup, and tending to the pots, and giving them memories, so that when they're older, they'll look back and be filled, hopefully, with the joy that I feel thinking about my grandparents. Thank you.